You know, sometimes the biggest revolution doesn't come with fireworks. It comes quietly, disguised as a white paper nobody reads. And right now, something quietly monumental is unfolding inside the Hedera ecosystem. It's called Bitcoin H. And no, it's not another copycat coin chasing hype. This one might actually solve Bitcoin's biggest problem, the one nobody at the top wants to talk about. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. It's funny, isn't it? Everyone in crypto wants the next Bitcoin, yet very few ever stop to ask the real question. What if Bitcoin itself needs a replacement? Not a clone, not a fork, but a total upgrade. Something that preserves the vision of Satoshi while fixing the mess it accidentally created. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Bitcoin, the same digital gold we worship, is choking the planet one transaction at a time. Let's face it, Bitcoin's biggest flaw isn't its price volatility or even its scalability, it's the energy problem. The kind of power it burns just to move a few numbers across the internet could literally light up small countries. According to the Cambridge Bitcoin Electricity Consumption Index, Bitcoin consumes more energy annually than Argentina and produces as much carbon as an entire airline industry. That's insane for a currency that was supposed to liberate us from inefficiency. Now enter Bitcoin H, a project that's not trying to compete with Bitcoin, but complete it. It's not built on blockchain, it's built on Hedera Hashgraph, one of the fastest, most eco-efficient distributed ledger technologies in the world. Instead of wasting megawatts on mining puzzles, Hedera runs on a consensus algorithm that's lightweight, democratic, and get this, carbon negative. It literally offsets its own emissions. Bitcoin H isn't here to start a fight with Bitcoin. It's here to finish the conversation Bitcoin started 15 years ago. The conversation about what digital money should be. Imagine Bitcoin's trustless design, combined with Hedera's lightning speed, ultra-low fees, and built-in sustainability. That's Bitcoin H in one sentence. It's like watching an old muscle car get rebuilt into a self-driving electric supercar. Same soul, but a whole different league. And here's where things get really interesting. Bitcoin H isn't just greener, it's quantum resistance, meaning it's built to survive the next big technological leap, quantum computing. That's the monster lurking behind every blockchain engineer's nightmares. Computers powerful enough to crack private keys in seconds, making today's crypto security look like paper locks. Now, most blockchains are pretending this isn't coming. Hedera, and by extension Bitcoin H, is already preparing for it. Quantum resilient cryptography is baked right into their vision. Think about what that means. While other projects will be scrambling to patch their systems in 5 or 10 years, Hedera-based assets like Bitcoin H could already be future-proofed. Now let's talk about practicality. Bitcoin's average transaction time can stretch to 10 minutes, sometimes hours during congestion. Hedera's 3 seconds. Bitcoin fees can hit $20, 0 cents or more in busy periods. Hedera's less than a cent. And instead of miners, Hedera uses a governing council of world-class organizations. Google, IBM, Standard Bank, Ubisoft, and more, all keeping the network decentralized but stable. So when you see Bitcoin H built on top of that system, you begin to realize what's happening. This isn't just a new coin, it's a new blueprint. A cleaner, faster, smarter Bitcoin. One that can actually run at scale without destroying the environment. Here's what caught my attention most. In their white paper, Bitcoin H calls itself the only viable Bitcoin-branded alternative combining ecological responsibility, cutting-edge tech, and decentralized governance. It's not just words. They've already built on Hedera's Hashgraph consensus, which achieves asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance. That's a fancy way of saying it's mathematically impossible for it to be hacked or forked. No Ethereum classic moments, no rug pull vulnerabilities. And that changes the entire game. Because in a world where sustainability and compliance are becoming non-negotiable, what do you think regulators, institutions, and governments will prefer? The one burning down megawatts, or the one that's carbon negative, secure, and traceable enough to integrate with financial systems? That's where the real story hides. You see, Bitcoin hype isn't targeting retail hype, it's targeting institutional trust, the kind of legitimacy that could make it the bridge between traditional finance and the next generation of decentralized money. So here's the key takeaway for every HBAR holder. This isn't just another side project in the Hedera ecosystem. This is a proof of concept for how Hashgraph can eat blockchain's lunch by being cleaner, smarter, and more scalable. Whether Bitcoin H becomes the next Bitcoin doesn't even matter. What matters is that it's showing the world that Hedera isn't just for tokenized assets and stablecoins. It's ready to take on the biggest, oldest, most sacred name in crypto history. Let me drop a little fun fact for you. Bitcoin H's supply is capped at 21 million coins, just like Bitcoin. That scarcity is deliberate. It's symbolic. It's like they're saying, we respect the original vision, but we're making it sustainable. You can't buy that kind of narrative alignment. You can only build it. So before you scroll past thinking, just another green coin, stop and think. What happens when Bitcoin mining becomes politically unacceptable? When environmental policies start tightening? When ESG investors, the same ones holding trillions, start asking why they can't support Bitcoin because of its footprint? That's when projects like Bitcoin H start getting serious attention. Because the next bull run won't just reward speculation, it'll reward innovation, especially the kind that keeps the lights on without burning the planet. Let's be real, you can't create something called Bitcoin hate and not ruffle a few feathers. The name alone was enough to set off a storm on X and Reddit. Critics said it was riding on Bitcoin's fame. Some even called it a marketing gimmick. But the team behind it, they doubled down. They said, we're not here to copy Bitcoin, we're here to correct it. And that line hit me hard because it's not just a slogan, it's a statement about where crypto is heading next. See, this entire debate, blockchain versus Hashgraph, isn't just technical, it's philosophical. Blockchain was built on proof of work, a system that rewards computational effort, even if that effort burns energy like there's no tomorrow. Hashgraph flipped the script. Instead of forcing computers to compete, it lets them cooperate. It's faster, fairer, and nearly impossible to corrupt. Now imagine taking Bitcoin, the symbol of decentralization, and merging it with Hedera's asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance, which basically means unhackable by design. You end up with something no miner controls, no government can easily censor, and no hacker can manipulate. That's what Bitcoin H is claiming to be, the next evolution of digital trust. But let's not pretend it's all smooth sailing. The biggest controversy comes down to legitimacy. Purists argue that Bitcoin's name should never be used for anything other than the original protocol. But here's the irony. Most of those same critics are the ones quietly cheering on layer 2 Bitcoin solutions like Lightning Network or wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. So what's the difference when a project uses a new architecture entirely, but still honors the original's intent? Here's where Hedera's ecosystem gives Bitcoin H an unfair advantage. Hedera isn't just a random playground for new tokens, it's governed by 39 global organizations, including Google, IBM, Dell, Boeing, LG, and Standard Bank. Each of them runs a node and helps steer the network's future. That's real-world accountability, something Bitcoin and Ethereum can't really claim. So when Bitcoin H says it's built for institutional grade performance, it's not exaggeration, it's alignment. Hedera already has the kind of stability, governance, and compliance tools that banks and enterprises crave. And that's why this project, as small as it seems right now, is making big people nervous. Because if Bitcoin H gains traction, it could attract the kind of regulated money that Bitcoin itself never could. Now let's get into the tech a bit deeper. Traditional Bitcoin transactions rely on miners competing to validate blocks. That takes time, energy, and a lot of hardware. Bitcoin H, using Hashgraph consensus, doesn't need mining. Every node on the network communicates directly using gossip about gossip, a patented protocol where transactions spread exponentially fast, almost like viral information. It's how Hedera can process 10,000 plus transactions per second compared to Bitcoin's sad little 7 per second on a good day. And because there's no mining race, there's no waste. Every transaction finalizes in seconds, not minutes or hours. You don't have to wait for confirmations or worry about double spends. It's instant finality, the holy grail of decentralized finance. But here's the kicker. Hedera's energy efficiency is off the charts. According to the UCL Center for Blockchain Technologies, each Hedera transaction uses less energy than a single Google search. In contrast, one Bitcoin transaction burns enough electricity to power a US household for nearly a month. That's not an exaggeration, that's measurable data. So let me ask you this. In a world moving toward carbon neutral investments, ESG reporting, and sustainable finance, which system do you think the next generation of investors will choose? The one that guzzles power like a 90S data center? Or the one that can scale globally without leaving a carbon scar? Still, controversy sells, and ironically, the backlash may be the best thing to happen to Bitcoin H. It's got people talking, and in crypto, conversation drives discovery. The name, the controversy, the technology, all of it feeds into curiosity. People start digging, they stumble onto Hedera, and boom, they realize this isn't some niche sidechain. It's a full-blown technological alternative to blockchain itself. And the funniest part, the Hedera community didn't even hype this project. It grew organically. A few posts on X, a white paper, a CoinMarketCap listing with a modest $2 million, 0 cents market cap, and suddenly the question started circulating. Is this the green Bitcoin institutions have been waiting for? Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, no one's saying Bitcoin H will replace Bitcoin overnight. That's not the goal. The goal is to show that evolution is possible, that the next chapter of crypto doesn't have to destroy the planet to exist. And when that narrative clicks, when people realize that Bitcoin H isn't competition, it's continuation, things start to make sense. It's also symbolic that Bitcoin H has a hard cap of 21 million coins, just like the original Bitcoin. That number isn't random, it's reverence. It's paying respect to the king while quietly saying, your throne can be improved. And if you're holding HBAR, you're already part of the story because Bitcoin H runs on your network. Every transaction, every new wallet, every token swap, all of it adds activity, liquidity, and visibility to Hedera. The more these projects build, the stronger the network becomes and the higher the ecosystem's long-term value grows. So the next time someone says Hedera doesn't have hype, remind them that real innovation doesn't need hype. It just needs time. And projects like Bitcoin H are proof that Hedera isn't playing catch up anymore. It's quietly leading one quantum resistant transaction at a time. Here's where everything starts to connect, because whether you believe in Bitcoin H or not, you can't deny what it represents. A shift in the story of money. For years, Bitcoin has been treated like an untouchable relic, the gold standard of crypto. But even gold loses its shine when it refuses to evolve. What we're watching with Bitcoin H isn't rebellion, it's adaptation. And adaptation is what separates survival from extinction. Let's zoom out. The entire financial world is entering a new era, one where institutions care about three things above all else: compliance, sustainability, and scalability. And guess what? Bitcoin Hedera's backbone checks all three boxes. While other projects are still arguing about energy consumption and regulatory risk, Hedera's quietly building the infrastructure of the next global economy. And that's where this gets powerful, because Bitcoin H isn't just a coin, it's a case study. It shows banks, regulators, and billion-dollar investors what's possible when you combine decentralized trust with environmental responsibility. Imagine this, a world where you can move billions in value across borders instantly, trace every transaction transparently, and still keep your carbon footprint at zero. That's not sci-fi anymore, that's Hedera. Now here's where we go from interesting to jaw-dropping. While Bitcoin still struggles to process a few transactions per second, Hedera's throughput is over 10,000 TPS with finality in under 5 seconds. That's faster than Visa, greener than any blockchain, and cheaper than most people realize. Less than a penny per transaction. For institutions handling millions of transactions daily, that's a game changer. And here's the wild part. The more projects like Bitcoin H that launch on Hedera, the more network effects kick in. That means more liquidity, more visibility, and more integration with traditional finance. Already, Hedera is working with some of the world's biggest names, from Google to IBM to Standard Bank, all quietly embedding this technology into real-world systems. So when people laugh at Bitcoin H, I laugh back because the joke's on them. This isn't about another altcoin. It's about the proof of concept that Hedera's architecture can host a fully functional, carbon-neutral, quantum-proof monetary system. And if it can do that for Bitcoin H, it can do it for stablecoins, securities, and real-world assets worth trillions. Let's break down what that means for you, the investor. Bitcoin H might have a small $2 million, 0 cents market cap today, but it's sitting on top of a $1 trillion idea that sustainability and profitability don't have to compete. They can coexist and even multiply. Because here's the truth nobody talks about. When regulation tightens, when global markets demand eco-compliance, only the green, efficient, transparent networks will survive. And Hedera is already miles ahead of that curve. Now think about the narrative shift happening right now. The old guard of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they become the establishment. The rebels of 2009 are now the institutions of 2025. And in that void, projects like Hedera are emerging as the next wave. Fast, compliant, energy efficient. So when people call Bitcoin Hed a green Bitcoin, what they're really saying is this is how the next decade of crypto will look. Let's play out a possible future. It's 2026. Governments are tightening carbon standards. Bitcoin mining gets taxed for emissions. Big corporations start pulling out of Bitcoin mining investments. ESG funds, the ones managing $50 trillion 0 cents globally, start reallocating capital to green digital assets. And when that moment arrives, what's waiting for them? A fully functional, low-carbon Bitcoin alternative running on Hedera's carbon negative network. That's not a fantasy, that's a setup, and Hedera's been building it quietly for years. Now, let's talk about one more thing that might fly under your radar: quantum resilience. Quantum computing isn't here yet, but it's coming faster than people think. When it does, it'll make most blockchains obsolete overnight. But Bitcoin H and Hedera, they're already engineered for that next leap. The cryptography used is designed to withstand attacks that even quantum computers can't easily break. That's not just innovation, that's insurance for the digital future. Think about what that means. If you're holding HBAR, you're not just holding a crypto. You're holding the foundation of what could become the quantum-resistant financial web of tomorrow. And projects like Bitcoin H are the first visible hints of that architecture taking shape. Now, I'm not here to tell you to buy Bitcoin, haha, that's your decision, but I am saying this: don't ignore what it symbolizes. Every once in a while, a project shows up that forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew. This is one of those moments. And here's my advice: go to bitcoin.org and read the white paper yourself. It's only 15 pages. Then go to hedera.com and look at how their consensus and sustainability model actually work. You'll see what I see, that this isn't hype, it's evolution in motion. Because the truth is, the next big wealth shift in crypto won't come from chasing coins. It'll come from understanding infrastructure, the networks that actually solve the problems no one else wants to fix. Bitcoin H is just the latest signal, a green flare in the night sky, showing us where this entire industry is heading. So the question isn't, will Bitcoin H replace Bitcoin? The real question is, when the world demands sustainable money, which network will be ready? Hedera already is, and if you're holding HBAR, congratulations, you're already standing on the right side of history.